Hey everyone, how's it going? Back with another off-stream recording here, and the map pool was recently switched around. And what I always like to do when there's a map that isn't usually in the pool is I'll look for some high elo games on that map so that I can, if if it happens to hit where it's been once in every other blue moon and I actually play the game myself instead of just watch it. I have some idea about a build order or a strategy involved with the map. Now, I don't think Mediterranean is that tricky of a map to figure out some strategies for, at least not if you already know how to play some other maps, such as Baltic, for instance. They're very similar. They're very similar. I'm not going to call them clones. I'm not going to call them clones of each other. They're very similar. But anyway, I did that. So I first was trying to look at live games, and this is story time, by the way. You can skip to Feudal Age if you really want to, but this is story time. I looked at live games and I sorted by elo on Spec Dashboard, and the first page, if you don't know, usually goes down to about 1500 elo when you sort high to low. I looked and I didn't see anything on Mediterranean, so I went to the second page. You know, that sometimes happens with the less popular maps, and okay, there was nothing on that page either. I went to the third page, and then the fourth. Not a single game above 1000 elo was on this map. I didn't look below 1000 elo, but it did make me wonder who is voting for this map. Who in the world is voting for Mediterranean when not a single person above average elo was playing the map? Maybe the below average elo absolutely loves Mediterranean. I don't know. So I couldn't see any games that way. So then I looked at the history tab on Spec Dashboard, and I sorted by this map, and there were a grand total of 3 games played on this map. Now, the history tab only counts players that would show up on the front page of Spec Dashboard, so I think their elo has to be like, they have to be a well-known player, or their elo has to be like 1800 or so. I don't exactly know what the cutoff is. It's high elo, but only 3 high elo games had been played on this map after a couple days of it being out. So take that as you will. It's again. I don't have any issues with Mediterranean. But migration was also in the map vote. Would have been nice if we could have gotten that map instead. I'll just put it that way. But anyway, this is the highest elo game that had been played on Mediterranean as of myself checking. It is GLX Rusher. Here's the Vikings versus BoyWonder as the Cumans. And I thought this was as good of a game as any. I actually think it might end up being a very interesting game. But we'll get into that. Let's get into that right now, actually. So Mediterranean, it is similar to Baltic. It's not Baltic. It's similar. It's Baltic with slightly more land and different resource balance, basically. I think the strategies largely would be the same, but maybe, again, I don't know. This might be the only map, the only actual game I've seen on Mediterranean in my life. It's possible. We never see this map. So we've got the Vikings from GLX Russia. The Vikings feel like they would be very good on a map like this. You take middle control. There's all this extra resources in the middle. You can range a fair bit from the water. All that kind of jazz. And then Cumans from BoyWonder. And the Cumans, I don't know if you guys have looked at the Cuman dock tech tree in a hot minute, but they might be the worst water civ in the game. I'd have to look at some other civs that I don't know the dock of. Cumans do not get They don't get any siege ships. They don't get shipwright. They don't get the second armor. They don't get heavy demos. Also, they don't get bracer, so their galleons are quite bad. It's really bad. It's very bad. It's really very bad. There's virtually no way the Cumans can ever beat the Vikings on water in a situation like this. They can maybe, and it looks like BoyWonder is actually adding in a second dock, which I wondered if he would even do. You can maybe compete in Feudal Age if you can snipe down some fish. That's valuable, even if you don't win water long term. Just clearing up the fish once, forcing some investment from Rusher into the water. It's probably a good idea. So it's going to be double dock fire galley opening here for BoyWonder. Meanwhile, Rusher is going to get a second dock up, and it's going to have to be regular galleys for the Vikings because they do not get fire galleys. So I'm curious to see what the game plan is here from the Cumans. And, you know, maybe my assumption is wrong. Maybe the water doesn't provide a ton of value because late game, well, it's kind of a battle between the mids in the late game. I'll put it that way. BoyWonder is going to get the second TC up, so it's going to be a bit of a Feudal Age boom from BoyWonder. Two very... I was going to say below average. I might just straight up jump to two of the worst late game civs in the game currently. The Cumans miss a ton of stuff. I guess they get basically fully upgraded Paladin potential, but they miss a lot of stuff late in the game. They don't have good monks, no bombard cannons. Can't really go ranged units very easily. Their infantry is okay though. It's lackluster, I'll put it that way. Meanwhile, the Vikings really, they have okay arbalests. That's about all that they have though. They have okay siege, no bombard cannons. They don't get halb, but chieftains kind of evens that out a little bit, but not really. It's awkward for sure. Obviously, no thumbering on their arbalests, so they don't even get a single fully upgraded unit on land. The Vikings don't. Is that true? Halb, I get. No, they don't get Halb. Champions. And kind of skirms. You get champions and kind of skirms. Those are the two fully upgraded land units for the Vikings. It's rough. It's rough out there for the Vikings, man. Still have... What? Actually, now that I think about it, these two civs are actually very similar when it comes to land in a lot of ways. Not so much in their play style or the units that they go for, but just in like the vibe of them, right? By the way, BoyWonder is going to snipe down all of the fish. That's probably as far as it goes. There's not, now that we've got 8 galleys on the field, triple dock from Rusher, you can't really beat this many galleys with fletching with just fire galleys. It's just not possible. Rusher might actually save that last fishing ship now that I say that. But both of these civs have very strong ecos. Vikings, of course, get the wheelbarrow handcart upgrades for free. Cumans with the second TC. So they have to hit certain timings with their good ecos in order to feel really good. But yeah, I'm curious to see what BoyWonder goes for here as the Cumans, knowing water probably not going to be possible. But we're already 6 villagers up. Now Russia's having 1 water is going to start adding in more fishing ships. The eco back here is looking pretty good. No farms, though. So even though the fishing ships ideally are bringing you in pretty good food, we're not looking at a castle age timing super soon here. We are floating a lot of gold, so maybe if we get a market down, we can go up. Meanwhile, BoyWonder actually appears to be idling out for Castle Age. Interesting. So accruing a boatload of idle TC time out of both TCs as we idle our way up to the Castle Age. Castle Age on the way for BoyWonder as Rusher is going to wall the top of the map. So you could wall here if you can get forward fast enough, but again, a little bit more land than Baltic. If it was Baltic, you'd probably only need to wall like this much. So maybe it's not worth walking all that way for walls you can't really defend, and it's going to be a forward siege workshop from BoyWonder. So we're up 7 villagers, BoyWonder is. Already quite a bit faster to the Castle Age. Rusher has not even clicked up yet. Although, no, we're stone walling. Rusher is. Stone walls for Rusher. Okay, we did get a market down. There we go. Now Rusher buys food, and we can click Castle Age. We can click Castle Age. There we go. So, Rusher not rushing to Castle Age here is going to be almost 2 minutes behind BoyWonder. Meanwhile, Rusher has found the forward siege workshop. This is actually maybe the only time at any sort of high elo I have ever seen the feudal age Kuman rams being put to use. I didn't even think of that when the siege workshop went down forward. Feudal ram push. Not something that gets taken advantage of very often, but suddenly Rusher is going to have to wall a lot behind this. Still a minute and a half until Castle Age for Rusher. Step Lancers are going to be massing up for BoyWonder as soon as he can get some houses down. We're up to 2 rams. It is full panic stone walls here for Rusher, just trying to keep out these rams. Man, if the rams get through, or rather I should say if the Step Lancers get through, it's going to be a bit of a disaster. We're prepping stables behind. Doesn't feel great as the Vikings, but it's probably your best bet until eventually, like if you could manage to mass up 10, 20 archers, crossbows, that would also be okay. So that takes a while. So it's going to be knights, I guess, from Rusher to start out Castle Age. We do hit the Castle Age, and it is indeed going to be double stable knights, also a monastery behind. Knights are better than Step Lancers in a non-microed fight. I don't know how much not having bloodlines affects that for the Viking Knights. And, well, the Rams are going to be through. The Rams are going to be through. One section of wall has been breached. And open up the safe. We got a lot to say. Step Lancers in your face. Taking down villagers. That's already 3 vills down. Step Lancers can carve through vills so fast. Already have feudal age upgrades on the cav. Rusher goes for some nice quick walls. Like I said, the Knights do win without micro. Just a stronger unit. It's just the hit and run ability of the Step Lancers that can sometimes be an issue. We've got only 6 Step Lancers. It's not a ton. We're up to a 3rd town center as BoyWonder, so 42 to 58 villagers behind this. Huge push, but the eco actually doing a pretty good job. I actually like this strategy. Just the all-out pressure kind of forces Rusher to stay on 1 TC. Now, the good thing Rusher has done here, it's 17 fishing ships have been boomed up into. So we're only on 1 TC. All of our res is going into the defense, but our eco is actually dead even if you're counting a fishing ship as a villager, which obviously it's not quite that simple, but it's close. All right, here we go. We've got a monk. I don't think a conversion actually came in, but this is a terrible fight. The Knights just win. There's also a camel or 2 mixed in here. Maybe a camel did get converted then, actually, because that doesn't make any sense. Rams did a sizable chunk of HP damage to that TC, but they're going to have to pull back now. And MBL would be proud. The Viking cavalry kind of putting in the work here. Now the camels are going to make this a little bit trickier. Step Lancers do okay damage as well. But Wonder's push is going to get pushed back. Rusher expanding behind this. Second TC on the gold, third TC on a different gold. But again, BoyWonder's been on 3 TC for a hot minute, closing in on a 20 villager lead. Rusher is technically ahead on economy units, but the fish is getting pretty far away from the docks at this point, so the efficiency is not nearly as good for Rusher's economy units compared to these vills or BoyWonder, although we've got 900 stone in the bank. We've got 11 villagers heading this way. Rusher has not done anything on this side, by the way. All these walls, all these stone walls up top, there's literally nothing on this side. Except for the galleys. This is something winning water affords you. There's no way past this area except to walk right here. So if Rusher's paying attention, he should be able to see the villagers coming at least. The galleys won't be able to actually kill all of these villagers, but seeing it coming could be good. Meanwhile, another cavalry army looking to run through, but Rusher has clogged up this area. Nice little cheeky dock block, completing the wall on the inside of his base. And we've got quite a bit of siege. The knights, 3 monks as well. So BoyWonder doesn't really want to push in under that. There are some other villagers we could maybe deal with. But look at this. Knight is waiting for the villagers. Couple more knights filtering back. BoyWonder wanted a castle to fortify probably an imp push. I think we're probably about to be thinking about that. I don't think this castle's going up, though. The knights find it out. Already 1 villager down. I think all 9 villagers down here are going to die. This lady was de-aggroed by the galley, which turns out to be extremely lucky for her. She got a couple boat arrows in her, which is unfortunate, but better that than what happened to all the villagers who simply continued on. Meanwhile, at the front, camel converted for Rusher. We're up to 10 step lancers here as BoyWonder, plus a camel hand cart on the way in. That's something, of course, Rusher has not had to deal with. And res collected, well, Cumin eco or not, sorry. I was reading that backwards. Cumin eco or not. 2k res collected ahead for Rusher off the back of the fish, off the back of hand cart. Coming in immediately and for free. It makes a big, big difference. Step Lancers roll in. They're not going to take a great fight against the Knights, but they can snipe down the siege. Also, Rusher nuking a couple of his own Knights. Not a bad trade, though, I don't think, for Rusher. BoyWonder puts the castle down on the shoreline instead. And it looks like BoyWonder wants to get back on water. Potentially off the back of an imp. I think the idea is you go imp, you get, I guess, fast fire ship. That is the one thing that the Cumins get that is actually okay on water. Although again, missing that the speed upgrade. And shipwright as well makes it a little awkward, but Knights coming forward. BoyWonder has been wide open this whole time, been relying on the forward pressure to keep his eco safe. Couple Kipchaks out, but Fletching's only on the way now. We're losing villagers. It was 18 to, I think, 3 eco KD. Only the fishing ships had gone down for BoyWonder now, as certainly no longer the case, as eco KD is going to be equalizing a bit here. We're not going to lose that much, but we're going to lose some stuff. Imperial Age actually in first for Rusher. That's kind of crazy. Okay, Imperial Age on the way now for BoyWonder as well. Fairly similar timings. Unfortunately for Wonder, I think the only hope here was to hit Imp faster, because if Rusher is able to just get into Imp with longboats, well, the fast fire ships are only going to do so well. Bearing up the forward are the Knights. 96 Vils to 80, so I think BoyWonder is going to need to come up with something. The push was great, but didn't quite do enough damage, I don't think. It's not amazing micro here for Rusher. It's got to be said. We're actually losing a lot of Navy to the fire galleys. At least we can get careening. Still pumping out some camels to try and clear up the Knights if possible, but really just great construction of the base in here for Rusher, preventing basically any push from being able to come in there. It's just so clogged up in here that BoyWonder never felt like he could actually dive through. Castle at the front of Rusher's base is going to be harassed a little bit by the Steppe Lancers, but the monks are going to chase those away before too much damage comes in. The question is, what do the Vikings go for in Imp, right? What do the Vikings go for? They don't get the final armor for their cavalry. They don't get bloodlines, obviously. No paladin. So do you don't really want to swing cavalier, especially when your opponent, I guess heavy camel. Why do the Cumans not get heavy camel? I feel like that would not be too bad for them to get, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, this is what we're going to go for. Men-at-Arms coming in, and a forward barracks coming down for GLX Rusher. Chemistry also on the way. That's elite longboat, so I hope we enjoy 20 seconds of our fast fire ships feeling pretty good on water, because that's going to come to an end rather quickly. Unless we can kill all these longboats. It's not a bad engagement here for BoyWonder. Elite longboat comes in now, though. We're quite a bit slower than the longboats as well, but if your opponent is not microing, then speed does not matter. A lot of longboats going down here. Bodkin on the way for BoyWonder. Castle over here for BoyWonder, but the Knights are here for Rusher. Unfortunate timing. A second castle is going to be harassed by these Knights. I don't think this one will be denied, but a couple of Vils will go down. There's careening now. Chemistry is now in, so our ships are fully upgraded, but still we need the micro. We do need the micro still. Barracks and a castle placed behind. Infantry. Is champion just the way? What do the Cumans have against champions until they can tech into, like, Cavalier Paladin? Because Chieftains even gives a bonus to champions against cavalry. Water is being won, although I don't know how much water matters anymore if you don't have siege navy. This is the other bad thing about the Cumans, is even if you do somehow beat the Vikings on water, there's no cannon galleons, there's no dramans, so what can you do? You don't even have bracers, so you can't even range very much with galleons if you go that route. So this is good. It deprives Rusher of an advantage, but does it give BoyWonder an advantage? I'm not quite so convinced. Two-handed swordsman, second armor coming in for Rusher. Being very patient about this. 4 barracks pumping out long swordsmen. And okay, BoyWonder does see this coming. I guess doesn't necessarily know it's going to be militia line rather than pikemen, but what's the response? Maybe you can you just go Kipchaks? Is that ever viable against champions? I don't know. Second castle here for Rusher. Trebs are on the field. I don't know where they are. Okay, they're still cleaning up all the forward. Actually, there's still cavalry here from BoyWonder. Could get massive value here against the siege. That's a little bit unfortunate. I don't know why that cavalry was still hanging out up here, but a lot of siege going down for Russia. Okay, a couple monks behind might be able to clear this up. Where are these villagers going? Champions on the way. We're losing a lot of vills here. I guess it's fine. These two converted camels are kind of doing the business. Treb working away at the castle on the south side on both ways. It's a castle war. We're up to 27 two-handed swordsmen in these 4 barracks. Look at this. Such patience from Russia. Russia not once again. How many times can I make this pun? I think 2 is not too many times. Russia is not rushing into this tech switch, taking it nice and slow. Still needs the last armor. Still does not have chieftains. As BoyWonder is indeed teching into cavalry, although it's a slow process. There's that final armor. Castle goes down for BoyWonder. I think now might be a good time to head on out. Castle goes up for Russia at the top, which again, the Navy just doesn't really do that much for poor BoyWonder here. This is good though. This Navy is getting some value. This is going to be a couple champions and a couple of trebs roasted, but the champions run in the south. What's here to deal with this? Some light cav and some Kipchaks. Champions do quite a bit of damage to buildings. And they do a lot of damage to light cav as well. These are like the 2 things champions are actually made to beat. If there were some halbs in here, it'd be a perfect counter for Russia. And Russia takes the game. GG is called by BoyWonder. Weird game. If you told me the Cumans were going to win water by the end, not in a million years would I have thought the Vikings still would win. But Viking champions, just kind of good, right? We were still missing a lot. We still were missing the final attack upgrade, chieftains, but 48 champions on the field, a couple berserks, castles up. Like, imagine if Cumans just had not even elite. Just give Cumans cannon galleon. Imagine. These castles are both gone. These barracks are gone. This castle is gone. We can get rid of buildings here. The TC. This TC. Like, there's so much damage to be done. But not if you only have fire ships. And I know there was a lot of fish on the field, but BoyWonder did have a villager lead for a hot minute. 12,000 res collected ahead, almost 13,000 res collected ahead for the Vikings player here. So, if my question is, how do you play this map at the top level? Feels like water is important, but BoyWonder did show there is some opportunity here to actually push on land. I think the night play was actually giga-brained from Russia, and that is something I would not have done. I'm too obsessed with late game compositions. Knights are what was needed against the Steppe Lancers. If we go like crossbow here, we're still massing them up by the time all the military's in here, and I think Russia might have died if it was a crossbow play instead of a knight play. I don't think the crossbows are online fast enough to deal with the Steppe Lancers, so big brain play from Russia to open with the knights. Vikings don't have good knights, but they were good enough. So, I'll keep my eye out. Maybe one day there will be another game played on Mediterranean, but for now, this was actually a pretty good open to a map that I still wish was migration, but you know, maybe this map's all right. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did. Yeah, have a good night. Hopefully a better night than a Viking night, or at least as good as these Viking nights, where I hope your night is as good as those, or day, or whatever it is, wherever you guys are. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon, all right? Peace out.